This is a very boring sim racing video in which I do not criticize anything. I thought it would be mildly interesting to answer the question, how much faster is driving aggressively? At this point in time in the world of sim racing, a large majority of you are probably fairly competent drivers. Yes, I say that against the backdrop of other videos where I've told you that iRacing's driving standards have taken a nosedive over the years, but hear me out. If I asked any one of you to make 10 clean laps around Laguna Seca in a row without spinning or going off the track even, you could probably do it. The problem a lot of you are probably running into is that whether you're playing iRacing or RaceRoom or rFactor 2 or any number of modern racing sims, despite having a mistake-free race, you still finished 5th at the end of the day and you have no idea what the fast guys in front of you are doing. In fact, if you were to send me some of your laps in private and I just went through them, I'd look at them and be like, you're not actually doing anything wrong. So where are the fast guys gaining all of their time? Yes, some of it is car setup, but that's a different can of worms and we're not going to talk about that today. The simple answer, if you don't want to hang around for the full video, is that they're just driving really aggressively. There are really two phases when it comes to learning how to be a great sim racer or learning how to be a great race car driver in real life. The first phase is just learning the driving line and being smooth. This is where I reckon most of you are. You can probably drive most tracks at a decent pace and do it somewhat consistently. The second phase is actually pushing the car and getting up on the wheel. This phase is why performance driving schools exist. This phase is why sim racing exists. And I'm going to show you just how much pushing a car actually gains per lap. So we're here in RaceRoom at the Assen TT circuit with the recently released ADAC GT Masters 2021 season car set. I'm doing this in RaceRoom because I like RaceRoom, but this is applicable to every racing game and racing simulator period. I'm essentially going to do 2 qualifying laps on 30 liters of fuel. The first lap I'm going to drive for you guys is a fundamentally sound lap. If I'm getting a friend into sim racing, this is what I want his laps to look like after 6 months of practice. On this demo lap here, I'm essentially treating it as if I'm playing in the WNBA and trying to impress you with my fundamentals. I'm not going to be sliding the car a whole lot, I'm not going to be sending it deep into the braking zone and hope it sticks, I'm not going to be taking a lot of curb. When I get on the throttle, I'm not going to do it in a way that yaws out the rear end of the car. Like I said, the goal here is to set a demo lap of if your buddy's getting into sim racing, this is what you want him to be driving like after X amount of months of practice. Driving at this level means you'll really enjoy sim racing. If you enter any sort of online leagues, you'll be able to finish a lot of races. You might even fluke into a win or two. This is the skill level that most of you are presumably at. The year isn't 2006, it's instead 2022. Gran Turismo has been on the market for over 20 years. iRacing has existed for, I think, 14 or 15 years. The majority of you can probably make it around the track, memorize the track's layout pretty easily, hit all the apexes, hit all the track out points, and actually look fairly competent. This is probably what your laps around here look like if you've got RaceRoom in the Assen circuit purchased. Again, there's nothing wrong with a lap like this, and for a lot of people, this is what they're satisfied with. This level of proficiency allows them to enjoy what sim racing has to offer. And it's, I guess, the virtual equivalent to being an FIA Bronze or FIA Silver license holder. The problem is, as mentioned at the start of this video, being able to drive the correct line and hit all your braking and turning points is only one part of the equation here. This kind of hyper-smooth gentleman driving style is not particularly fast. Coming through the final chicane here at the Assen TT circuit, I am cutting it as I would on a tryhard lap, because that's just the line you take here. I clock in at a 135.73. This is a completely respectable lap. If you run this in qualifying, you should be happy. Now I'm going to go out and drive the car on kill. Same setup, same fuel load. I'm not actually going to change up my driving line at all, but I'm going to throw my entire bag of tricks at this lap. And these are various performance driving techniques I've picked up through YouTube videos and sim racing so much over the years and even real life racing. Going into turn 1 here, I'm going to brake later and put way more pedal into it so the rear end starts to come around, and then as I can feel it rotating under me, I'm going to lift off the pedal and straighten the car out with the throttle. Already I've gained close to 2/10. Through this decreasing radius double hairpin section, I'm purposely putting a lot of pedal input into both the brake and the throttle to keep the car what's called unloaded and in this very small 4-wheel drift. For the smooth brains watching this, this basically lets you take corners a lot tighter than the car's natural turning radius. For intermediate level drivers, this does take a lot of finesse to maintain and just be able to do on command, and again, it's why performance driving schools exist. You literally need to just keep doing reps until you figure it out, but when you do, as you can see by the delta on the dash, we're half a second up. Coming up to the sweeping right, I intentionally give the car too much brake pedal so the rear end steps out on me and feels like I'm going to wreck, and then I counter this slide by intentionally getting on the throttle probably earlier than I'm supposed to engage the traction control, which realigns the vehicle for me. This is the kind of weird driving fuckery that occurs at this level. You're essentially trying to sustain a razor-thin slide, and then to save the car from spinning out, if the car's got TC like these GT3 cars do, and it's probably what you guys are driving the most, you jump on the gas. I think the argument that racers are athletes is kind of stupid, but this is why guys get worn out in cars, especially over long races. Even in sim racing, your legs do get kind of sore from how aggressive you have to be with the pedals, and because you're micro-sliding the car as opposed to just being smooth, you constantly have to keep your shoulders and your arms and your hands kind of tensed up and at the ready for any sort of countersteering that's required, or just the various surprises that might happen when you're making the car do things that constantly upset the balance of it. But your reward for learning how to drive like this consistently and efficiently, your lap times are going to improve on a 90-second road course by almost a full second. A gain this substantial on top of already solid driving fundamentals, which again, the majority of you probably have, and you're going to win races regularly. If you want to win races in sim racing, in rental go-karts, in amateur racing, this is the secret. You have to learn how to drive aggressively.